There are places out there the government probably wish you didn't do too much research on. From places where strange experiments are going on, to some suspicious places censored on Google Maps, here are places you're not supposed to know about. Hey guys, this is American Eye today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy that video. But first, thanks Crime Boss for leaving us this comment. We appreciate you checking out our channel and leaving your opinion. Let us know which place you think seems the most mysterious, and maybe we'll feature you in an upcoming video. Number 12. Raven Rock. You better believe that the president's own personal nuclear apocalypse bunker is off limits to the tourists. You definitely won't be coming here anytime soon unless you're able to join the Secret Service. This underground secretive complex, known as Raven Rock, is a vast system of tunnels near Blue Ridge Summit, Pennsylvania. It's said to serve as the Pentagon's replacement in case of a nuclear attack on Washington, D.C. Not too far away from coal-producing areas in the Appalachian Mountains, they could always resort to using that for energy in case something goes wrong. Who knows where the underground tunnels lead to? For all we know, they got their own personal underground freeway that connects D.C. to Raven Rock. They definitely got their zombie apocalypse strategy on point. Number 11. The Sellafield Nuclear Decommissioning Site. The Sellafield Nuclear Decommissioning Site is one of the most radioactive places in the world and the second most radioactive in Europe. It was here where they underwent the risky process of dismantling nuclear power plants in order to make them not radioactive, but in the process, they made this area in the UK extremely radioactive. The site also has several radioactive storage sites for contaminated material. According to Greenpeace, it leaks over 2 million gallons of contaminated waste into the Irish Sea each day. This site gets the nickname as the world's plutonium capital. The radiation is so high at the plant that they've actually closed out tours, and you definitely wouldn't want to come here without a hazmat suit. Number 10. Pine Gap, Australia. Australia's secret spy base located in the middle of the outback has stayed out of the public eyes for quite a long time. It's a lot like Australia's version of Area 51, which means you won't be getting a tour anytime soon. It turns out this base is an important intelligence gathering location operated by the US and Australia in a joint effort to track down terrorists and track nuclear threats from places like North Korea. It's also known as the Joint Defense Facility, and as you can tell from the sign, this seems like a place you're not supposed to know about. Much of what goes on here is still surrounded in secrecy, and what we know of is only the tip of the iceberg. Number 9. Bikini Atoll. Once the US had captured much land in the South Pacific during the 1940s from the Japanese, they wanted to continue testing out new devastating technologies. Bikini Atoll was where the US tested out their most powerful equipment, things such as hydrogen bombs. Castle Bravo was the code name for the dry fuel hydrogen bomb. This thing blew up over Bikini Atoll and was the second most powerful device ever detonated behind Russia's Tsar Bomba. Bikini Atoll was the site for 67 nuclear detonations. Researchers from Colombia in the US recently discovered that all of the islands are still radioactive, and no one knows for sure when they'll be safe to live there. People here are still dealing with fallout as a result. They've had to flee their homes, and not everyone always thinks it's an accident either. Compensation has been demanded by the natives. Cleanup of the Marshall Islands has already cost the US taxpayers over $1 billion, at least. Number 8. International Fusion Station. This one on the list is actually funded by several governments and not just the US. This includes China, India, Japan, Russia, and South Korea, just to name a few. This is considered to be the most expensive international science project and is being tested out in southern France. A total of 35 countries have pitched in funding this thing, which is a feat on its own. It's not really easy to find on Google Maps, but their headquarters is in Covert, France. The technology studied here includes the transition of plasma physics in order to produce electricity on a massive level. There's an experimental nuclear reactor here that uses a very powerful magnetic field in order to confine plasma. It's a very complicated process, which you can imagine, and seems a little bit dangerous and expensive. The construction began in 2013, and the estimated cost so far has been at least $14 billion. The total cost in about 3 years is estimated to be worth about $20 billion, which is about a $4 billion increase in budget. However, if properly researched and completed, it could be a prototype for power plants that create very limited amounts of radioactive waste, so who knows? Number 7. The Aberdeen Proving Grounds. In one of our Strange Government Experiments videos, we talked about Project 112, where the government tested out biological and chemical weapons. If you take a closer look at these proving grounds, you'll notice some bizarre things. A patch of trees and part of a lake here are covered up with pixelation, not exposing the true environment. The cover-up seems quite amateur to say the least. Could the land here really be some horrific toxic environment that Google doesn't want us to see? There's certainly more than one patch of land on here that's covered up with pixelation as well. Number 6. Wig and Zee. Okay, Netherlands, tell us your secrets already. What are you hiding from us? The crystallization here seems to be the preferred method of censoring things on Google Maps when it comes to the Netherlands. But this one is quite puzzling, since there really isn't anything here that would seem too secretive in a tiny little Dutch town. Or is there? You can tell here there is some type of school, a hotel, a Thai restaurant within the crystallization, but what else could there be? This seems to be the last place you'd expect there to be the European Space and Research and Technology Center headquarter. That's not all. There's also the European Space Agency office in this city with a population of only about 25,000 people. Hard to say exactly what they could be building here, but it seems like something they don't want us to know about. Number 5. Gruinard Island. Located in northwestern Scotland, this oval-shaped island is only about a mile long and a half-mile wide, but it's been home to some mysterious incidents in the past. It was once full of trees, but is now completely treeless. In 1942, British military scientists chose this island as a testing site for biological weapons during the Second World War. In order to test anthrax as a weapon of mass destruction, it was bombarded with several anthrax bombs using sheep as the test dummies. To no one's surprise, it actually worked out. In 1945, the man who owned the island actually wanted his land back, but the British Ministry of Supply claimed that the island was now unfit for human habitation. It makes you wonder how infected this island truly is to this day. The site also looks pretty strange on Google Maps if you take a close look at it. Number 4. Covert hacker bases. Ever since the coup d'etat of Guatemala, the CIA has set up bases to start some drama. In case you guys all the way in Europe thought you were safe from the feds, you better think again. Recent WikiLeaks files have revealed that there's a covert hacking base all the way in Frankfurt, Germany. The hacking base is disguised as a US consulate, but inside, it's nothing but a bunch of CIA spooks spying on people. The agents working here are given black diplomatic passports and operate under the cover as ambassadors. This allows them to breeze right past German security at airports, basically with these false IDs. They're also given agents special instructions on how to get past secondary screens under false identities and not blowing their CIA cover. Editor of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, states that the US is operating espionage missions and even kidnappings on people in EU states. This includes places like Italy and Sweden. US undercover agents have been sniffed out during failed espionage missions in China, France, and Germany as well. This is really only the tip of the iceberg, so watch out. Number 3. Witness protection cities. You better believe that the government doesn't want you to find out where they're keeping all their informants who try to move on and start a new life. But they're not always going to keep them in the most accessible places. You can see how land was broken up in a bizarre fashion in the Northwest Pacific, and if you take a look at a place known as Point Roberts, south of Vancouver, you get an idea. If for some reason you had to get to this isolated little peninsula, you would have to drive through both Canadian Border Patrol and also the US. So safe to say, it's pretty secure, and it turns out to be a great place for our government to set up witness protection programs. On Google Earth, you can explore so many places, but mysteriously, this little US exclave is a no-go zone. The Witness Protection Program was set up in order to provide protection to people who have come forward or testified about illegal activities and would be a target from dangerous criminals. It hasn't been 100% confirmed, but it looks as though Point Roberts is a witness protection city. Number 2. Rosie, Spain radar base. You know, some place is secretive when Google Maps completely blacks it out. This was a case for a piece of Rosie, Spain that once looked like someone just spilled black ink all over your electronic device while you were using it. It is supposedly an aerial military radar base, but no one can be too sure now, could they? We showed you how this place was blotted out from Google Maps, but it appears as though they finally filled in the blank space with this image. Seems convincing, right? You can clearly tell that those two photos were never taken at the same time. Somebody seriously cut and pasted here. The radar station would be atop of the mountain, which makes sense, but it's hard to say for sure. Could they have digitally created an image and replaced it with these seemingly normal-looking buildings? And number 1, the Nuclear Polygon. Located in northeastern Kazakhstan, it was a primary venue for Soviet weapon testing during the Cold War. Nearly 456 nuclear tests were conducted in this small area, making it highly contaminated. The testing continued until 1991, and the truth about this place is still pretty mysterious. The fact that there was radiation here was hidden from the public for decades. Nearly 700,000 people live in it and its surrounding areas, and it's believed that more than 1/3 suffer from health and birth defects caused from radiation. Much of the waste from all the testing has not been properly disposed of, making some people worried that plutonium could be laying around and end up in the wrong hands. But you're not supposed to know about that.